will move the baton off to Manas, who's going to take up the comments of the week.
All right.
Comments of the week.
Not
ये तो पता है ना ये वो
every time we do this.
Every time.
वो remix होके जाएगा अभी.
वैसे to start off news, वैसे थोड़ा सा housekeeping ऐसी काफी लोग appreciate कर रहे थे the trivia 20 questions वाला वो, a lot of positive comments around that, and also लोग ये भी appreciate कर रहे थे we're being pretty consistent, everybody is saying positive things after long days work. It's good to see you hot handsome men. उनके अच्छा लगा.
अभी ऐसे
Okay.
Abhi is making for all the less hair in this show.
Yeah, he makes up for it. Hot men, तो Manas is extremely hot. Everybody can see at the moment.
यहाँ तो गर्मी चल रही है. So to start with, a serious question जहाँ पे deep pondering and Sushir has a story to tell. हर्षित, जिसका असली नाम हर्षित है, YouTube पे तनेरू लवन्या. Please take this question in our next comment reading a podcast if you can. If you can time travel, but you can only change things in gaming industry. What would you do?
So I would go back and delay Cyberpunk by another year.
सिर्फ एक साल.
I think
5
एक साल तो हो गया ना रिलीज हुए.
And an entirely different direction.
Yeah, सही बात है. That would be my time traveling. और अगर ज्यादा मतलब like if I had to like really push it, इतना बुरा तो कुछ हुआ नहीं है ऐसे 5 like Cyberpunk has been like my pain point for the last वो. हाँ, Halo Infinite क्या वो मल्टीप्लेयर करने की जगह फोकस ऑन सिंगल प्लेयर. Like
ओपन वर्ल्ड होने की जगह.
हाँ, सिंगल प्लेयर, नॉर्मल सिंगल प्लेयर कैंपेन with the focus on like Master Chief and Cortana. That would be my 2 वो. Priority first Cyberpunk, फिर Halo.
Priority first.
I want to hear Sushir का story.
I will, but like you know,
next. I want to go last.
I would definitely.
Oh, you want to go
last?
Okay. I have one. Mine is go back to when Sega thought कि क्या था वो Dreamcast would sell, and they वो थोड़ा अपने से थोड़ा अपने आप को बड़ा समझने लग गए and Dreamcast के रिलीज कर दिया PlayStation से सस्ता, but नहीं PlayStation से महंगा, PS1 से महंगा, and they didn't have any games on launch, and then the PS1 came and it was cheaper and it had games. तो just because I like Sega थोड़ा सा मैं चाहता हूँ कि उनको थोड़ा मौका मिल जाए console space में अभी आने के लिए. तो
tell them it's not a good idea, bro.
Bro रुक जाओ अभी मत निकालो.
बोलेगा what kind of word is bro? 96.
18th century चलेगा क्या?
ये कौन सा शब्द है? ये मैंने डिक्शनरी में कभी देखा ही नहीं. ब्रो कैसा शब्द है? अरे चिल.
I think literally उनके एक दिन बाद PS ने अनाउंस करा था शायद, I don't remember, but they announced it $100 cheaper. तो I'll be like सस्ता कर दे, थोड़ा सस्ता कर दे बस. That's what I would do.
Abhi, what about you?
That would change वैसे direction of the industry.
Industry, सही बात है. I agree.
If I go back in time, I will just let everybody know कि बॉबी कोटिक को निकालो जल्द से जल्द. Just take him out, नहीं होगा उसे.
फिर तो Call of Duty Microsoft पे बिकता नहीं है, man.
Exactly.
This is how you reveal a PS fanboy. This is how you reveal a PS fanboy, guys.
अरे I'm thinking about the people, yeah, not about the fan. मैं बहुत अच्छा इंसान हूँ, so that's why I'm saying कि बॉबी कोटिक को निकालो. And then the PlayStation fans को अच्छा लगे. Cut the Bobby.
Manas, what about you, man?
एक तो वैसे काफी सिग्निफिकेंट आयुष का पिक था शायद, जो मैं पहले भी मतलब मुझे याद है कभी तो क्वेश्चन आया था ना, इफ यू हैड इनफिनिट मनी, तो मैं बोला था टाइम मशीन बना के साइबरपंक. तो या दैट वुड हैव बीन वैसे आइडियली जो आई वुड हैव गॉन फॉर, बट आई थिंक आई वुड हैव ट्राइड मे बी कि लास्ट ऑफ अस 2 के कोई लीक्स ना हो. Like no leaks, stop it. मुझे लग रहा है that game would have been received very differently.
Yes.
अगर पहले से एक अजीब सा narrative उसके around ना बना होता तो.
Why? Could you imagine the videos coming out when the people would have like the first time reviewers who played that game, जब वो
and would have
public के पास जाता है and
Yeah.
seen that scene.
Yeah, but I think people playing it themselves खुद से ना एक अलग way में you absorb it differently.
Experience it differently
Because
ना.
people would reading और जब you see the scenes एकदम पहले वो देखते ना, you get a different impact. लोग पढ़ लिए हैं, जान चुके हैं, लगा ये हो गया है,
Correct.
तो already hate
ये
है
तो
उसमें
मुझे
तो.
उसमें
And
there's
also
no
जैसे
impact.
yeah नहीं कौन
नहीं you go on.
नहीं also जैसे काफी सारा like digging into the psyche of the characters in the game before even ever having seen that scene for yourself. जैसे
Exactly.
काफी YouTubers ने videos बनाए थे ना around कि ना hey Joel would never reveal his name या वो to a group of strangers उस room में घुस के मैं कहा like उस moment में who know like they just helped him right and he helped one of theirs उनका जान बचा के ले गया and then they helped him gave him refuge. So how do you know like I mean you only are saying that because you heard a YouTuber say it. You never thought of it yourself. वो तो मैं तो guarantee दे रहा हूँ. You never when playing that game you were not thinking that in that moment क्योंकि you did not know what's going to happen next. The same way Joel did not. The only way you're saying that is because you have you knew अच्छा इसके वजह से Joel मरा. But you don't know that ना उस time में when you're getting into that room. Same way में तो मुझे लग रहा है I mean yeah Last of Us 2 के around शायद conversation काफी अलग होता है. And एक और होता मैं गोरिल्ला गेम्स को बोलता कि भाई लोग प्लीज थोड़ा
फर्स्ट पार्टी में
पहले 2 बार में 2018 और जो भी है ना 6 महीने बाद
I have one more.
I feel कि the game still got like recognition क्योंकि first time था it didn't get directly compared to Zelda, it just got overshadowed and Zelda was only on one platform. तो एक फायदा ही था उसका ना कि Horizon was about to like PS वाले were not going over to Zelda वैसे even though Zelda dominated the conversation. लेकिन इसमें Forbidden West के चक्कर में I genuinely feel कि it hurt the game, a great game जो and मुझे लग रहा है it also kind of shows कि कैसे चाहे लोग जितना भी बोले ना कि like the media sucks, mainstream gaming media ये वो sucks, they listen to it and the mainstream media drives the conversation a lot. ये
100%.
mainstream media में including big streamers, big Facebook pages वगैरह जो clips वगैरह करके ना Reddit जो चलो अलग ही organically चल लेता है तभी, but like all of it I think ना everybody is putting Elden Ring के clips once Elden Ring came out. And that also, I mean, because it's cool, but एक मुझे लग रहा है एक desire भी होता है ना कि like a Souls game, open world गया, like you want a Souls game to be good, like which I love Elden Ring वैसे हाँ, but I definitely feel कि एक media driven hype की वजह से भी ना the Forbidden West got काफी overshadowed. And because Elden Ring is a great game, that's why also, but इसका release date अलग time होना चाहिए था Forbidden West का.
I mean, we got public heroes like as God and let me solo her. You know how can you? How can you compare to that, man? Seriously, but yeah, I understand the sentiment. Yeah, Darren.
One more. I hope it's not Sushir's. I really hope it's not. It's related to Kojima and Konami.
No, it's not.
Okay, it's going back to that time. Going to both of them and be like, Kojima, please. खत्म कर दे गेम जल्दी खत्म कर दे.
Kojima keep the IP. Keep the IP.
हाँ IP ले ले.
Don't transfer the IP to Konami. Just keep the IP.
Keep it. Bye.
Konami please मत कर, मत ले MGS उससे, थोड़ा पैसा और दे दे. Don't go to Pachinko. It's the dark side.
Don't.
That's what I would do.
Hello Sushir.
Okay.
It's all set up for you now.
Yeah. So the thing is that. There come very few opportunities in my life where I get to talk about certain things that I'm very interested about and certain things which people place no value in, like knowing absolutely stupid stuff. Okay. And this is going to be one of them. So guys, come across, sit across the fireplace and let me tell you this amazing story that I came to know. And this is going to be a little long, but I hope I get to complete it within 5 minutes, the stipulated time. So this is going to start off with in 2009. And as a video game history nerd, that's the year when 16-year-old Palmer Luckey started making, the virtual reality headset, which will become to known as the Oculus. So he's down there in the basement, scrounging parts from different places. And he has, bought several prototypes from different kinds of places. And he has tried to make his own. And then comes a few years later, in 2011, John Carmack, the ID god, the programmer extraordinaire, जो 3 घंटे बाद भी अगर programming पे बोले तो you can sit down and listen to all the CS nerds out there. He was there in that forum in which Palmer Luckey was a part of, and John Carmack asked Palmer Luckey, can I have a headset? Can I have a prototype? Are you selling these? And Palmer Luckey, being like the biggest day, thinking this was the biggest day of his life, he gave it away for free. John Carmack ports Doom 3 BFG edition onto the virtual reality headset and takes it to E3 in 2012. And that's where the magic happens. No, it still comes out late. That's where the magic happens. This is actually the story is about a hidden part of the the whole virtual reality story, which not many people are aware of. So so that happened, and many people started that John Carmack taking that demo out made that Kickstarter campaign start to happen. And in order to get that Kickstarter up to date, okay, I want to make this kind of a thing, give me the money for it. Palmer Luckey is going on the rounds to showcase his product to different people. And in July, Palmer Luckey and Michael Antonov, the CTO, they go to Valve and show them the first early prototype to get a quote for the Kickstarter video. Okay, this is the product, and we think it has a good future and stuff like that. And boy, oh boy, Michael Abrash and Gabe Newell attend that meeting, and they're very excited. And they are like, this does seem to have like a lot of potential. Let's look into what we can do. Okay. What happens later is
3 months later, Steam Index gets announced.
So later in 2012, QuakeCon 2012, Palmer Luckey from Oculus, Valve's Michael Abrash, ID's John Carmack, they are right there on the stage together, and they are talking about this open software collaboration and everything like that. And it's like a fantastic thing to watch. If people who want to watch that, you can, might have a link on down below. Then what happens in July 2013? We see that Valve is actually working on the Oculus headset, and Monty Goodson, one of the engineers at Valve, he hacks a 90 hertz Samsung phone, and he gets it working on the low persistent mode. And he shows that as proof of concept to, Brandon Irib, so that he can show it off to Samsung. Brandon Irib is then the CEO. So he was previously at Scaleform, and then he, became the CEO of Oculus. September, he visits. So important backstory about Brendan Irib is that Brendan Irib used to get very motion sick whenever he used to wear those Oculus goggles. In September 2013, Brendan Irib visits the Bellevue, Washington headquarters of Valve, and spends 40 minutes inside a Valve prototype of the Oculus, and he does not get sick. His mind is blown. He's like, what kind of black magic have you guys done? He comes back and he says that this is like, it was a big problem. So previously what happened is that anybody who, was like a little bit of tendency to get motion sickness, would start to hurl every time they would wear the Oculus. And this was one of the big problems that Valve solved. And just after that demo, Valve, has pivoted from augmented reality technology. Jerry Ellsworth, they fired her, 30% of the staff, they gave off the whole AR technology for $1. And this is going to build up. You guys must be thinking like, this story kahan ja raha hai? Because
मैं सोच रहा हूँ कहाँ पर intervene करेगा तू?
Right. And then 2014 January comes up, Steam Dev Days, first time happening. Valve debuts the first VR demo, and people's minds are blown. Like they haven't seen something built from the ground up for VR ever. Like, and this is also one of the first pieces of software and the background SDK that Valve has supplied. 29 January, like a few days after that, without the knowledge of anybody, Brendan Irib demos of the Valve prototype to Mark Zuckerberg. And just remember that in 2014, Valve had no interest in making their own hardware. They were working with Oculus, thinking it to be an open partnership. There were no lawyers involved. There was no patents. They were just giving the technology back to Oculus, as Oculus, they had formed a symbiotic kind of a relationship, and they had worked really, really hard on that. And I'm not going to go into the other details. And at that time, the Valve has said that that Oculus is the obvious candidate to ship Valve invested VR technology. In late March, Zuckerberg bought Oculus VR for $2 billion. And it became a big flashpoint for the whole virtual reality industry. And right now, it's a company has changed its name to form something in the virtual reality. It's called Metaverse, and Facebook has now become Meta. And that's similar to sickness that Valve solved, and all the technology that they provided to Oculus without even knowing that in the future they might just ditch them and go their own way or just be a sellout. This is one of the biggest flashpoints in video game history that I think was possible. And there are like books about it. It's called The History of the Future by Blake Harris. Fantastic book if you want to read it. There's no attempt by Valve to intervene there. Like, you would not see anybody interviewed from Valve over there. But there is also the VNN, the Valve News Network podcast that happened. It has a very interesting timeline which you can get. So it was a very enthusiastic startup with big goals, and then it went mainstream, and then it got sold with all the technology that was not theirs. So I think I want to intervene at the part where Valve gave that technology.
And not at the part
To
where he
Oculus.
demoed to
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
I think already, like, Brendan Ireb and some of the other people were already there in that company in Oculus who had already thought of selling or getting sold to another, because they were not being able to raise the capital that they wanted. They were burning through the Series A investment round, and they were burning through that cash. And I think whatever the case was, they would have sold. But it depends whether Zuckerberg would have bought it. And I don't think Zuckerberg would have bought it without that thing being so, good. The technology behind the whole computer vision tracking
So
implementation.
what's
that
the
Valve
point,
had.
Sushir? Just like if you say no to Steam to share the
Right.
technology with the VR, उनके
Right.
साथ, तो उसका क्या, what effect were you expecting by that result?
By
basically?
that result, the thing that I'm saying, wanting to say is that VR got hampered a lot because of Oculus's walled garden approach. If they had put in the OpenXR implementation that everybody in the industry was taking up, which again Valve initiated, they said we should have an open platform where people have the same kind of directions and directives that they can follow, and not make a walled garden. I think the number of people wanting to get into virtual reality would have been a lot higher. It would not have been walled gardens like the Oculus, where certain games don't get the recognition that they deserve just because they're on that space. And also the whole thing about, like, pehle Oculus likha aata tha, abhi Meta likha aata hai, the whole brand got consumed inside Facebook. Like, whatever, it started off that it'll be a very independent subsidiary of Facebook, and it did not. And I think lots of people would have benefited if this technology remained open, and if this technology remained in the hands of people who were wanting to see good for that technology going forward. So I think that's the place where it ek dhakka laga bahut.
But
Valve ko.
didn't Steam come out with like HTC again, like HTC Wine?
Yeah,
What is it
like
called?
right after this happened, they went into a blackout mode. They blocked all communications for the next 4 months, and then HTC approached them and said that they want to make a hardware, and Valve then proceeded to give them the patents to make the next headset. Then then HTC made the headset, and Valve was not satisfied with it, and then they went ahead and made their own production pipeline, and made the Index. But Zuckerberg की
So
आंखें जो हर तरफ है अभी नहीं होती.
So my follow-up to that question is, like, if Steam would not have shared that information with them,
Right.
and उसके बाद फिर they would have, obviously they were very impressed with the idea, but they would have made Steam Index and HTC Wine whatever, right? So
I think they should have shared with.
wouldn't
yeah,
history look like कि मतलब Valve के पास वो लोग आए and then they just like brushed out that idea, but they inspired it to make one for themselves?
I think Valve here came off as a very naive company because they shared it without lawyers and patents involved. I mean, you could definitely have shared or something like that, but having lawyers and patents involved would have led to Oculus not selling off to Facebook, because they already had the technology they got from Valve, and without permission from Valve, they consolidated that and sold it off to Facebook. So I think lawyers and patents this is the only time I think lawyers and patents should have been involved, before something like that happened. And it's a very interesting part of video game history that I had never got the chance to speak about, but this is one of it, I think.
Can I just say, what a story? Like,
Same,
what a retelling by Sushir, and what a story to, like, I didn't know. I spent like I sit on the internet and I go through like stories after stories about games and everything, and I didn't know this. So
Me
this was
too.
like
Yeah.
for me, like, you know, and I feel it's not just a video gaming history ka flashpoint. I think this is a human, like, you know, color TV se jab log TV bana, fir color TV bana. It's kind of like that in terms of technology, because everything is now, you know, people are pushing towards virtual reality or augmented reality just for entertainment, for accessibility, for health, for literally everything. So this is like a big thing that happened in
Yeah.
human
And-
history, I feel.
And just one small thing to add to that, like ये जो starting का Oculus का जो, you know, the people who are involved in it, starting from Palmer Luckey, he's not part of Oculus anymore. He had to resign. Facebook forced him to resign, and he's not part of that anymore. Then Brendan Irib, the CEO, he's not a part of Facebook anymore, Oculus anymore. And then I think Michael Abrash is still there. I'm not really sure. But John Carmack is not there anymore. He's a consulting CTO, I think, but he's not interested in that. So all of them had a fallout with Facebook's vision of what the future held for virtual reality.
Or they accepted the payout, whatever.
Track
Yes,
Right, because
Wait.
see, the thing is like they sold a promise, right? They didn't sell a finished product to Facebook, right? They sold a promise which had hype in it. But like making a promise and getting hype for it is one thing, and then creating that promise into actual hardware which works, which delivers on that promise is a different thing altogether.
Right.
So I think that's why you see a lot of people who bring up a company, get a startup running, then they sell it and then they move out of it for some reason. Elon Musk has done it.
But do realize that all these
3
people
times over.
moved on well beyond when Oculus shipped their second headset. Like this was like the first headset, the second headset, when they were going to mobile, this is the time that they moved on. They didn't move on right after selling. So they and Palmer Luckey and whatever his political stance is, and John Carmack, वो जितना भी पैसे ID से मतलब निकाल के लिए, that is different, but both of them are really very interesting engineers and coders. So to find them walk away or move away from this is a little heartbreaking.
Wouldn't you also say ki, because like now, not in India at least, but elsewhere, the Oculus Quest 2 is like super cheap, right? It's very, almost, I would say, accessible, almost as much as a console.
Almost, yeah.
And you can have a good experience on it. Do you think if Facebook didn't buy it, VR would
Not be there.
still be sort of this accessible in terms of just price and
I think
Because
the whole
last year, Sushir, let me. So last year on Christmas in the US and Canada, Galaxy Quest was the most selling electronics gift of all category. So more than iPhones, more than the PS5, Xbox, like as a gift, it sold the most. So it has been doing really well in that front.
So I think, a part of that software, selling that hardware is definitely making sure that the cost is low for people to get into, even if they take a loss at while selling that hardware, just like Sony and Microsoft take a loss at selling their hardware. So Facebook is taking that approach, and you can't log in into or use any kind of those headsets without a Facebook account. And I know,
We will eat all these words when we record our first podcast from Meta.
I still use Facebook, so it doesn't help anything. But yeah.
तभी नहीं चल रही है Facebook की algorithm हमारे लिए.
वैसे the way the story started, मुझे लगा Sushir will end like, and on April 16th, 2022, John Carmack stabs Palmer Luckey.
Nobody knows what happened, and he was thrown out of a window.
They rooted suicide, but he had bullet wounds in his head.
But yeah, I think I took a lot of your time.
Awesome story though.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Got me some background onto VR also, honestly.
Yeah, मुझे लग रहा है once in a while ऐसा कुछ करना चाहिए, like a deep dive into like a particular incident in gaming. That was interesting.
It was really good.